it's sort of working. Okay, I think it's working. I think it's working. Never know with this stuff. Never know with this stuff. All right, let me record the audio. And we are recording the audio. Okay, we are in business. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. I am very excited to be here again with you today. And today we have a very special guest. Our special guest is Denise, also my partner in crime. And today we are talking about the dangers of selling after your prospect is already sold or enrolled with your services. So I'm not sure if any of you listening have had this problem before, but that is one we are definitely going to talk about today because we have also had a similar, we've all had this problem as we're growing our firms and our businesses, and something Denise and I have heard hundreds of times over during the years of sales coaching and coaching in just sales professionals in general is I've heard this. Like, I had a client that I thought was going to enroll with me, but then they ended up not going through with it at all, and I never really heard from them. And, you thought you really connected with the client, but then they just disappeared, right? We call this the disappearing act. And we completely understand how you feel because we've personally been there. But honestly, it's something that a lot of people don't really know is that you can actually ruin a new client engagement or a new client prospect, proposal, whatever you want to call it, by continuing to keep selling after the prospect's already been on board with you. And it's really like, how do you define that fine line as to when do you need to stop talking and the client's already sold versus when do we need to keep talking and answering questions? So in today's episode, Denise and I will be explaining all of these uncomfortable situations that you might encounter and how to never really react to it again. So Denise, welcome to the show. It's awesome having you here today, as always. And, I know you're coming all the way from, I'm in San Diego and Denise is in New Jersey. So today is actually beautiful and sunny and about 50 degrees, absolutely freezing. And I know for you it's always really cold. But Denise, say hi to everybody. And can you just share with a little bit about your background so they know who you are?
Sure. Yes, and you keep telling me that, Michelle, but today is raining here in New Jersey, but not snowing, so that's a good thing. So yeah, I'm Denise Mandel. I am from Neptune, New Jersey, and partnered up with Michelle. It's our 1 year anniversary this month of partnering up, so pretty awesome. And so yeah, I have a background. I was a financial advisor for 22 years, worked with many CPAs around helping my clients maximize their tax savings and estate planning and all kinds of good stuff. So love working with accountants and been in sales and working with business owners for over 35 years. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I know we are talking about a really fun topic. And I just want to share this quote by a keynote speaker, activist, Shiv Khera. And it's 90% of selling is conviction when only 10% is persuasion. I know that if you already have the conviction and if you already have the right solution for your clients, then instead of persuasion, Denise and I like to say influence more, but it's really easy to influence a positive outcome of the conversation that you're looking for. This means that your sale might actually happen faster than you've ever been used to before. And that's really where this conversation today comes from. So Denise, what's your take on that? I know we talk about we use the word influence a lot versus persuade people. But what does that mean to you?
It's just like when you're really tuned in with someone and you're really being of service and being on the same side of the table as them, what you say and how you are being with them has an impact, or it influences somebody's choices or decisions.
Yeah.
Whereas persuasion is actually moving them into something. But I think influence is like when you have certainty and you're like, people want to know they're working with the best, right?
Right.
So when you're certain and you have that confidence, it's definitely influencing.
It's definitely influence. So Denise and I like to come from the aspect of influence, and influence, the basis of that is confidence, right? And when you're confident in what you offer and you're confident in your fees and you're confident in your services, and you're confident in the results you can deliver, that confidence acts as an influence to your prospect sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
Right?
And let's distinguish also, confidence doesn't mean cocky, right?
True. Can
Yeah.
you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, because sometimes like we tend to be like sometimes do you ever come across someone they're like, well, I know everything, they're kind of like a know-it-all.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, you got to listen to me, and so that's more cocky, whereas confident is like, yeah, I'm really certain, like I see that you have some problems and I'm certain that we can help you solve those problems.
Yeah. And I guess what we're both saying is certainty will lead to influence, right? So you might wonder like why talking after the sale, or not after the sale, but why talking after a client's already enrolled could hurt you. And I think a lot of this may stem from, and Denise, you can share a few of your ideas too, but probably every sales conversation you have, you're just winging it, right? And when we just wing it and we don't have a consistent flow and a consistent process, we miss the anatomy of the process of the sale. So we don't even know when the client is ready to engage. And working with so many accountants, we've learned that winging it doesn't get the results that we're each looking for. And a lot of this could lead to a lot of talking, right? So Denise, do you want to talk about that part of it? Because we always talk about the 80-20 rule here on the Abundant Accountant podcast, but talking too much happens because of why.
Well, so, maybe you've heard this myth before. The myth is, whoever talks the most wins.
Right. That's
Not
true.
true at all. When I used to, when I was first starting out in sales and, I was just winging it and, because, I didn't have a sales system. I didn't know, right? I didn't have that. So I would just be talking away, thinking I was telling them about everything they needed and everything like that, everything they needed to know. I mean, it was painful. It was painful,
Yeah.
and it didn't get the job done. But, so really the real truth is, it's whoever talks the least but has the best questions wins, right?
Right. So when our clients are talking a lot more, like we've chatted about here many times, that's always a good sign. But when you talk too much, it could happen because you're coming from when like the caution and fear come up. And when caution or fear or lack of confidence arise, it all stems from that's why you might start talking too much, and it could really, kill an opportunity with a new client. So this happens if you don't know what to say at all, or you stumble on your words, right? Or maybe you don't just know when to stop talking and you just keep talking because you've learned what Denise just said, where whoever talks the most wins, where actually in what you do in your firms, it's the reverse. The least amount that you talk, the better will win. Another area that you might, keep stumbling upon is that you're just not in a neutral state. So we're nervous, we're excited, we're just not even keel. And even keel is really where we want to go. Or maybe you're coming from a scarcity mindset where you really need the next client sitting in front of you and you just keep talking and talking, thinking that that will help them enroll and engage in your services, when really that walks people away from you. It scares them. So if you're focusing more on the sale than on the relationship with your new prospect, that could also hurt you in having a new client in front of you. And we were talking about this the other day, actually, when we were having one of our classes, and it's so important to distinguish the difference that the person in front of you is the person you're here to help and serve. It has nothing to do with you getting a new client. We're here just to help support you in an area on a better way to get more clients. However, really coming back to the foundation of the sale, which is the relationship aspect with a new prospect, is the key ingredient to all of your success, growing your firms with more clients that you love and really want to help and serve. So we actually want to take the focus off of the sale and this new client, right? And just focus on, if, like what Denise was saying, sitting on the same side of their table, pretend you're having a picnic with this person and you're sitting next to them and not across from them. So Denise, why should you talk less? You want to share all those reasons why?
Why should you talk less? Well, so you can listen more, right?
That's
And
so easy to say. It's so easy to say.
right. Well, but that's the thing is when you really prepare ahead of time and really understand uh, where you're leading someone in a conversation, then there's no uncomfortable silences or anything like that, and that's okay for some silence to be there. But you have to understand why silence is good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Silence is great, but also knowing that your clients buy for their reasons and not for yours, right? So similar to what we were just talking about as far as the client relationship aspect and not having the sale being so attached to the outcome, which sometimes has us talking too much and then you lose the sale. Another thing is remembering that people enroll and purchase based on their reasons, and it actually has nothing to do with what you think. Right. So I think a lot of accountants we've worked with, you might think that this is the end all be all for this client, or this is the tax plan they need, or this is the, bookkeeping package service that they need. But it's not really about what you think. It's really about what are their reasons.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? If you're talking too much, then you're not listening to what their needs are. So how can you really even know if you're just like talking away, right?
Right.
And usually, again, that comes from, not being prepared, winging it, or just, not really being sure what to say or what questions to ask, that kind of thing, right? So, yeah. And then sometimes, when you're in the conversation, then all of a sudden your client starts asking you questions like, and that happened to me even a couple of times last week. Client asked me, oh, well, how did you get into this? And the tendency is to start, talking about me. And, that's kind of dangerous because that gets you off track, and then you can lose control of the conversation. And next thing you know, an hour later and nothing's happened, or they're like, bye, I gotta go.
So
right?
Denise, how many sales did you miss out on just recently just from talking too much? And about you?
Oh. Well, I don't know. Do I really want to share that? I don't know.
I mean, it was a few, right?
No, it's true.
It happens to all of us, everybody.
Totally.
You're not alone in this. It does happen to not only you. This is a normal thing, but we really want to share it with you because this is an area that you can practice and work on right now in your firms. This is something you can change. And really having, for me, what helps, I would say, probably even last month, I probably missed out on 3 or 5 opportunities just because they started asking me questions and then I started talking about myself, and you don't even realize it because you're so immersed in the conversation. I'm sure each of you with your prospects and future clients have a similar challenge, but what you miss out on and what the important element here is the key information. It's the, what is it that you want to know about your clients that if you talk too much, you're never going to learn, right? So how can you ask questions to gather the key information from your clients and write it down? And we always say, live by your strategic questions, right? Because if you ask the right questions and they're open-ended, your clients will talk 80% of the time and you will only talk 20% of the time. So it's definitely a win-win for everybody. But Denise and I both have lost out on opportunities due to this, and we don't want that to happen to you at all. So Denise, what keeps people from enrolling, with a new accountant or with a new accounting firm? What do you think those main reasons are, and what are some ways that our accountants listening today can, we're all about taking action, by the way, at the Abundant Accountant Podcast. So whatever we're discussing today, we want you to put into action immediately. So what are some ways that, we can keep people, not keep people from enrolling with us?
Well, sometimes what we found is that when people don't know what to say, or let's say the person says, yes, I'm ready to move forward. And then you keep talking, you keep talking. Like I used to work with this guy, Mel.
Mel?
When I was,
okay.
Yeah, his name was Mel. And, he was a fun guy, like just a really good colleague of mine. But we would be doing a presentation for a potential client, and they would already be a yes, and he would keep talking. I'd be like stomping his foot under the table,
So what
and
did
then
you do to get him to stop? What happened?
well, literally, I would kick him under the table. And when he wouldn't stop, we would lose the sale every time because people are like, because you almost like talking them out of it.
Yeah, so that's a good point. When you talk too much, you actually talk your clients out of working with you. So it's
Yeah.
a really,
Because,
really fine line, right? And if you don't have someone like Denise to kick you under the table, you can think about Denise and I kicking you under the table. But what are some things for you, like even right now, Denise, when you're working with clients or when I'm working with clients that you can pick up on, like to catch yourself, right? Sometimes we have to give ourselves like a red flag, like, okay, I'm saying that. I better revert back to let me ask an open ended question and keep my mouth shut.
yeah. Or, yeah. So you ask a question and maybe in your mind you're counting
Mm.
10 seconds, even if they're not answering, because they may be thinking, right? Or here's another way, right? Just,
Drink a sip of coffee. I know all of you are right now, especially during the tax season. And, I mean, you guys are all busy all year round, but have a sip of coffee to stop the chatter coming out of your mouth. Or like me, I always have massive bottles of water everywhere. So I just drink water. Or the other little trick is I just ask a really great open ended question. I put my phone on mute. That's only works if you're on the phone with a client. If you're in person with them, that won't work as well.
yeah. Or you can just say, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
That's good. That's really interesting. Tell me more. Denise, what's another question you could say to get the clients to talk a little bit more?
Well, just so I'm clear, I just want to make sure I understand. Can you repeat that again?
Oh, that's good. Another way too is just repeat what they just said and then say
Hmm.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I get that right?
Did I get that
Like
right?
say their words back to them and, hey, did I get that right?
Right. So it could go something like this. Like, Denise, I heard you say